Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I was watching the CPAC live coverage, and there was this discussion that they had with Kellyanne, Conway, and Sara Carter on the drug crisis that we have. And I really thought these comments that Sara Carter has to say here were very insightful, and I like the way that she was talking about even in mid-America, in Ohio. And this is the thing we have to understand, that when we're dealing with what's happening at our southern border, it's not just what's happening there. It's what's happening in all of America because of what's happening there. So if you go to maybe the border cities along there, the true problem might not show up there. The problems show up in the rest of America when things start gravitating here. And this is the problem with these cartels, the drug cartels, because they have reached their tendrils into all of the United States. When we have this drug problem, it is not just the people along the border. This is not where the focus is. It is where they come across, but then they go and disseminate it throughout the United States. And so the drug problem caused by what's going on with the border, having a porous border as we currently have in some places, it has caused this across the entire United States. And so I wanted to make you aware of this. I think Sara Carter does a great job here putting it all in perspective, especially when she talks about what she saw in Ohio. Ohio's in the Midwest, and you wouldn't think that this would be the huge problem that it is, but there is a problem here. There's a problem all across the Midwest, all across the United States. So it doesn't matter where you live in the United States, because our southern border is porous in some places. It's caused this epidemic of having drug problems throughout the United States. And I really appreciated what she had to say here. So I'm going to play the clip and then I'll come back and cap it up, okay?
And I want to just buttress right off of that, because Kellyanne's right. And when you talk to parents who've lost their children, I say, what is one of the biggest lessons you've learned? And they say, take away the shame. Yes. It is our responsibility to face this, because if we're too ashamed to face the truth, too ashamed to listen to our children and to listen to our family members, then the drug cartels are going to win, right? Because they are moving these narcotics in. This is not just about the pharma industry, although, you know, there's bear a lot of responsibility on overprescription, and we've heard that before. But what about the drug cartels? Sinaloa, Juarez, the China market, you know, the Russian market of fentanyl, and the movement of these narcotics into the United States. We have to say no more. You are not allowed to poison our kids. You can try, but we are going to fight you every single day. We are not going to allow you to do this. We are going to back up policies that will change this. And, you know, and then things will change. If we choose to ignore what's happening to our country, we are going to lose a generation of children. I can tell you that. I've never seen anything quite like this than when I went to the epicenter in Ohio and other states who are facing this crisis, where the morgues were so overflowing with bodies that they had to rent freezer trailers to put the children in the freezer trailers outside of the mortuary. I never saw anything like this. I never saw the way people cried and begged and pleaded for someone to just pay attention. And even those that are working undercover in the DEA, in places like Ohio. I mean, Ohio, for crying out loud, middle America, and they're saying it's being divided up by the drug cartels. I mean, the drug cartels own territory in our own country. So think about that, and think about what this crisis is doing, and think about what this administration is doing, because for the first time, we're actually seeing an administration that cares enough to do something about it and not just ignore it.
So there you have it. I think she said it very clearly and very distinctly, and, you know, she brought it home. We have to understand the lives that are being destroyed here because of these drugs. And it's just one of the things that's happening because some places in our border are porous. Now, I want to address the situation where many on the left have used the talking point that, well, 80% of the drugs are confiscated in the regular border crossing points. Yeah, well, if you think about that, duh. I'm sorry, but it makes no sense if you really think about it, because of course, where they're located, where we have the extra border patrol, that's the place where they're most likely to actually seize drugs that are coming across. But the likelihood that the porous areas is where a big portion of drugs are coming across that we have not captured is very likely. I mean, let's face it. If I set up a race for you and me, and we were together in this, we had the same starting point, we had the same ending point. And for me, the field between my starting point and my ending point was totally clear. And for you, the starting point and the ending point had a bunch of barricades in between. Which one would you prefer? I mean, would you prefer to take my side or your side? It's pretty obvious. Anyone with a brain would say, let's see. If I'm trying to go from here to there and that's my goal, you obviously are not going to be able to go as fast or as easily as the person with no obstacles. And when you see some of this border along the southern border, a few years ago, I was in Texas for a seminar that I was teaching, and I decided, okay, I have to go to Arizona next. And I thought, okay, I'm going to go across the Mexican border here just to drive across it. Now, I'd been to Mexico before, but it was usually by airplane, and so I'd never actually just gone across the border there. The border crossing was ludicrous where I went across. It was a rickety old bridge that had a little shack there and a guy that was kind of waving you on and watching it. And the only thing I saw was that they did have the little directional spikes, so you couldn't go back the same way you came, but you could go in the other lane, and it was the same thing. It was not a very big bridge. It was like 2 lanes. And the river there, I could have waded across the river. I mean, it was nothing. So it would have been very easy for somebody to go across there. This one little guy sitting there, and he looked like he was half asleep. And he was on the Mexican side, by the way, not on the American side. There was nobody on the American side. So I don't know why people could not just cross there or just down the stream a little bit, because it was not very wide and it certainly was not very deep. You know, we have this problem, and I don't understand how the Democrats can call it a manufactured crisis when we have this situation with the drugs, like we heard what Sara had to say. So this is something, I think it was a very important part. It was an interesting discussion these two ladies had, and I really have been enjoying some of the CPAC I've gotten to see so far today. But I wanted to share this clip with you. I can give you a link to the live stream, but I don't think it's going to do any good once it's not live. I think they'll probably chop it up. But until then, and when that happens, I will try to get the link and replace it down below. But for now, this is where we're at. And again, because it's a live stream and I can't really give you even how far in it was, because there were other things before this. And so the link may not be functional or may not be appropriate at the time that you're watching this. But I will try to replace it as soon as possible, because you know, that's how live streams work. They do the live stream first, and then when they take it and essentially kind of put it in different pieces according to who the speakers were, because there were some other speakers before this, of course. And I will try to get that link then when they put up that particular clip. So that's what I've got for you. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.